would like to welcome you all this evening to the April 22nd Mayor and Council meeting. We'll start this off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Arena, if you would lead us in the pledge, we would appreciate it.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Arena. I would like to read into the record that Councilmember Palermo will not be in attendance this evening, and it is an excused absence. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Tizer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Grower. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. The next item, this is an exciting one, on our agenda is the recognition of the Roswell Fire Department 2018 Departmental Award recipients. Chief Burnett.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here tonight to present to you the SAVE Award for 2018 and also the awards recipients for Officer of the Year, Firefighter of the Year, Employee of the Year, as well as Chief's recognition. But before that, I'd like to take a second, if you don't mind, and talk just a little bit about the staff that's on the Roswell Fire Department. If you're a chief officer for the fire department, would you please come up? You are a chief officer. I'd like to take just a second to recognize these gentlemen you see before you. These are the ones that make me look good. They're the ones that do all the work. So I'd like to take a second to introduce them. First is Deputy Chief Robert Rogers, Deputy Chief Tony Poplis, Battalion Chief Pavel Troch, and Battalion Chief Charlie Vaca. Charlie Vaca is also our fire marshal for the city. So that's my command staff, and that's the ones that make me look good. They're the ones that do all the work. I just take the credit. And then next, I'd like to just talk about those who make us look good up here. And that's every firefighter that I have, but it's everyone that's in the room. If you're a firefighter for the Roswell Fire Department, please stand. Thank you. I could sit here and brag all night about the experience we have, but I think all on the mayor and council know that. The ones that often go unnoticed and unthanked are probably the ones we need to thank most because they allow us and they share their family with us. If you're a family member of the firefighters, will you please stand? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, we would like to go into the SAVE Awards. Thank you, sir. We'll talk a little bit about the SAVE Awards before I introduce those recipients. Those recipients, once we call your name, if you would, please come up to the podium, and if y'all would hold applause until each end of each occurrence here. The first one, the one I'll talk about is the SAVE Awards, is the criteria. For us, for someone to be considered for a SAVE Award, they have to be either not breathing with no pulse, and they must leave the hospital. And a lot of places if you make it to the hospital and you get a pulse back, they consider it a save. We don't until they make it out of the hospital and into recovery. And the reason that is so the save means something. We have a lot of people that we get pulses back that they lose at the hospital. So we don't consider them saves, only the true ones that actually make it out of the hospital. And I'd like to read you three scenarios that we have, please. On October 2nd, 2018, Rescue 22, Engine 23, and Engine 22 responded to a medical emergency on Hardscrabble Road. Upon arrival, the crews found patient unconscious, unresponsive, in cardiac arrest. Roswell Fire Department, along with AMR crews, provided airway management, established ACLS protocol, which is Advanced Cardiac Life Support, and IV therapy. Patient was transported to North Fulton Hospital. Roswell Fire Department paramedics rode in and assisted AMR with patient care. The Medical Life-Saving Award for individuals who have been instrumental in providing emergency medical care resulting in a medical life save is awarded to the following personnel. If I call your name, if you're here, please come up. Captain David Clement, Firefighter Ken Fisher, Paramedic Randy McCord, Paramedic Craig DeLay, Firefighter Ben Rackley, Firefighter Tim Pastore, Firefighter Brandon Wicks, and Paramedic Jacob St. Clair. Thank you, gentlemen. On November 11th, 2018, Rescue 22 and Engine 21 responded to a medical emergency on Grimes Ridge Road. Upon arrival, crews found patient unconscious, unresponsive, in respiratory arrest. Roswell Fire Department crews provided airway management, established IV, followed ACLS protocol. Patient was transported to North Fulton Hospital. Roswell Fire Department crews rode in and assisted Rural Metro in patient care. Upon arrival to the hospital, pulse was present and a life was saved. The following personnel, if you come up when I call your name: Captain Jack Allen, Paramedic Brandon Carr, Firefighter Patrick Bledsoe, Firefighter Sean Griffin, Firefighter Paramedic Zach Brown, and Firefighter Haney Alexander. Thank you, gentlemen. On December 12, 2018, Rescue 24 and Engine 24 responded to a medical call at Old Dogwood Road. Upon arrival, the crews found a patient unconscious, unresponsive, and not breathing. Roswell Fire Department crews provided airway management, established IV. They regained respirations, and the patient started back breathing. Patient was transported to North Fulton Hospital. Because of the individuals who saved his life, I'd like to recognize Paramedic Charles Corbett, Firefighter James Loudermilk, Firefighter Milton Cotton, Firefighter Mark Kelly, and Paramedic Keith Snyder. Thank you, gentlemen. Next, I want to talk about our Narcan administrations, everybody knows about the opiate problem that we have throughout the state and throughout the country. We don't consider these as saves, but we do recognize and count up how many we had and report that to the state for their annual record. And the reason we don't recognize these is because we do, so, to be honest with you, we do so many of them. So in 2018, we administered 25 doses of Narcan to 25 different patients. Out of that 25, we had 18 positive results out of that. They're not here tonight, but one that I always like to recognize, because even though they report under the police department, they're still a big part of our fire department family, and that's the 911 center. They're always the first to take the call. They're the first line of defense that we have, and a lot of times they go unrecognized. So I want to take a second and just remind you that we have an incredible 911 center. And the last thing for tonight is going to talk about our award recipients. Each year, we give out awards for Firefighter of the Year, Officer of the Year, Employee of the Year, as well as the Chief's Recognition. The Firefighter, Officer, and Employee of the Year are chosen by their peers. So these are chosen by their set of peers that they work with. The Chief's Award are chosen by the chief's officers you see up here. We choose the person that we felt for that year has went above and beyond and made a difference in our department. So I'd like to start with the Firefighter of the Year. As I call your name, if you would please come up. I want to talk a little bit about this firefighter. He's humbled. He's respected by everyone. He has a strong work ethic. He's retired now, but his full-time job was the DeKalb County Fire Department. And there were times that he literally has pulled people out of burning buildings. And you talk to him that next shift, and you'd never find out. You'd never once tell you what he does and what he's done. You'd have to find, hey, did you hear what Mike did last shift? And that's the only way you'd find out. He would never, ever brag on himself. So others brag on him for him. He is a leader. He's a person that people love to follow. So, Mayor and Council, your 2018 Firefighter of the Year is Firefighter Mike Barnes. The next is your Officer of the Year. Again, this person is chosen by their peers. When I talk about him, I talk about a person that sets examples. He is certified on everything, I think. He's proficient in everything. He leads by example. He's respected as a leader. He's not only a great asset to the Roswell Fire Department, but to the fire service as a whole. Mayor and Council, your 2018 Officer of the Year is Captain John Elliott. Employee of the Year. Again, this person is chosen by their peers. When I talk about this person, I refer to him as our Energizer Bunny on steroids. He's an extraordinary leader. He's a mentor. There's not a task that he won't take on. He'll complete it early, and it'll be extraordinary work. His responsibilities are special operations, training, PIO officer, fire department safety officer, any other tasks that I give him. Mayor and Council, your 2018 Employee of the Year, Battalion Chief Pabell Troch. All right. The Chief's Recognition Award. It's given behalf, like I said earlier, all the chief officers up here. The person that I want to talk about is dependable beyond remarkable. He's a longtime city employee. I think he's been here since the inception of Roswell. He's full of tradition, but at the same time, he brings fresh new ideas to his division. His positive attitude is just infectious. He is going to be an exceptional leader one day. He is the future of the Roswell Fire Department. Mayor and Council, your 2018 Chiefs Award goes to Captain Mike Fink. Before I conclude our presentation here, I'd just like to take a second and just remind council and the citizens how lucky we are to have the fire department we have. It's not because of anything I do, it's because of these great men and women that behind me that work for this department. And again, I would be remorse if I didn't thank each and every one of you up there, because of what you do allows us to have what we do and do what we do. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Chief. I would love to have a picture with you all, but before we do that, let's just give them another round of applause. They do great work. Great work.
Mayor, if we could we do it, two pictures? Could we do the ones who got the SAVE awards and then ones who got the Officer of the Year and such?
You're in charge, Chief.
Okay. So if you receive the SAVE award, please come up. And also, if your families are with you, please bring them.
All right, if our award winners can come up front here and just pack in. We can do that. Just pack in as much as you can. Yeah, turn sideways. That's not a bad idea, yeah. All right, you might need to do it on a slight angle. I gotta get it. Yeah, we need to gotta get that. All right, so everybody kind of look over here a little bit so we can get it on an angle. that too. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. We're over here. All right. Have everybody? Okay, keep smiling. Keep I'm with a flash, just to be on the safe side.
All firefighters are welcome to stay, but you're also welcome to go if you'd like. Mayor and council, again, thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda this evening is a proclamation for May Bike Month. Whereas, for more than a century, the bicycle has been an important part of the lives of most Americans, and whereas, today millions of Americans engage in bicycling as an environmentally sound form of transportation, an excellent form of fitness, and provides quality family recreation. And whereas the education of cyclists and motorists as to the proper and safe operation of bicycles is important to ensure the safety and the comfort of all users. And whereas the League of American Bicyclists and independent cyclists throughout our state are promoting greater public awareness of bicycle operation and safety education in an effort to reduce accidents, injuries, and fatalities. And whereas the city of Roswell has been named a bronze level bicycle-friendly community by the League of American Bicyclists. Now therefore I, Lori Henry, Mayor of the city of Roswell, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2019 as Bike Month, and the week of May 13th through the 19th as Bike to Work Week, and May 17th as Bike to Work Day in Roswell, and ask all of our citizens to participate and enjoy the sport of cycling and embrace the bike-friendly community spirit and share the road. This is a great month for cycling in the city of Roswell, and I would also like to invite everyone on Sunday morning at 8 o'clock to meet at Roswell Area Park for the Mayor's Ride. And all you need to do is sign up at the Bike Roswell website and join me in that event. I would love to see you all there. Also, I would like to challenge all of the council to be on that ride on Sunday morning. And if you need a little exercise just to get revved up for it, Lisa Walker with Bike Roswell is going to be meeting me here at City Hall tomorrow at 11. And we are going to go on a maiden ride. So please join us. And I believe there's someone here from Bike Roswell. Would you like to come up and accept the proclamation? And we would love to have a picture with you. And bring your kids.
shift over a little bit this way so we can get the bike in there too. Over here.
Thank you, all the folks with Bike Roswell. This is a great event on Sunday, and I really do encourage you all to join us. We're also going to be closing Canton Street for a while on Sunday for the kids, and they can ride their bicycles up and down Canton Street, and there's a bike rodeo, and just a lot of really fun family festivities. So please join us. Okay, the next, it gets even more exciting. The next item is National Drinking Water Week 2019. Whereas water is a basic and essential need for every living creature and our most valuable natural resource, and whereas only tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life we enjoy. And whereas the citizens of the city of Roswell should have a safe and dependable supply of water now and in the future, as we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which future generations depend. And whereas National Drinking Water Week recognizes the essential role that water plays in our daily lives and the dedicated water professionals in our city who ensure the success of providing clean, safe, and reliable drinking water to our community, and the protection and proper management of our water resources. And whereas the City of Roswell will host the annual Drinking Water Festival on Saturday, May 4th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the City of Roswell Water Treatment Plant, which will include tours of the Roswell Water Plant, children's activities, a cookout for attendees, and giveaways. Now therefore I, Lori Henry, Mayor of the City of Roswell, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5th through the 11th, 2019, as National Drinking Water Week in the City of Roswell, and ask that all citizens help protect our source waters from the pollution, to practice water conservation, and recognize and participate in this national event. Mr. Skalski.
I just want to, you've said it all, Mayor. The event, the Water Festival on May 5th is fantastic, or I'm sorry, May 4th. And I just encourage everybody to come out. It's a lot of food, a lot of fun, a lot of food, and you can get signed up for Aquahawk, our leak detection program, and get a tour of the water plant. We like it because we recruit young people really young, and we've had some outstanding young people come through, and I think they've got a future in the water profession. So thank you, and we look forward to seeing you all there.
Thank you, Mr. Skalski. The next item on the agenda is the presentation of the 2020 proposed budget with my approval. Yes, ma'am. You're doing the honors this evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. It is my honor and privilege to present to you the Mayor's proposed budget for fiscal year 2020. The proposed budget being presented today is the result of some great teamwork and effort from senior leadership and staff. Today's presentation is organized a little differently from the prior years in the sense that the budget requests have been categorized by the strategic initiative or the critical success factor that they aim to achieve and have not been organized by departments like in the past. I will start my presentation with a summary of the budget for all funds and then discuss how the base budget is developed. A major portion of the presentation will be devoted to the requests that have been funded and unfunded in the general fund and some of the other major funds. The presentation will end with what the next steps in the process will be. The first major slide talks about the budget principles that the city of Roswell follows. Our first principle is to have a balanced budget where revenues are greater than or equal to operating expenditures and maintenance capital. We maintain a reserve of 25%, which is greater than or equal to 3 months of operating expenditures. The third principle is that we use reserves only for one-time capital. The major highlights of the fiscal year 2020 budget are that the budget is balanced. The primary focus of the budget for fiscal year 2020 is to maintain existing service levels and our existing infrastructure till a citywide strategic plan is developed. As part of maintaining the existing service levels, there are a total of 14 new positions being added across all funds. This is mainly due to increased workload and to achieve operational efficiencies. I will talk a little about this in detail a little later in the presentation. We have $28.5 million budgeted for maintenance capital and one-time capital projects. This includes $6.2 million in maintenance capital projects, $16.9 million in T-SPLOS projects, and the balance $5.4 million in one-time capital in the general fund and other funds. The general fund budget also includes an average merit-based wage increase of 3% for full-time employees, part-time staff, and firefighters. During the development of the proposed budget for FY 2020, staff has identified close to $600,000 in savings through operational efficiencies and redirecting of some resources. A major portion of these savings will come from the proposal to move the building inspection and code enforcement services in-house. More details on this will be presented on a later slide. The pie chart here provides a summary of the source of funds for all funds. The proposed revenues for all funds for fiscal year 2020 are $155.8 million. A major portion of that revenue comes from sales tax and property tax. And the sales tax amount also includes the revenues to be collected from T-SPLOS. Property tax makes up 18% of the revenue and includes the debt service portion. The external charges for service make up 19% of the budget, and these include sanitation fees, utility fees, fees related to the Rec and Parks programs, E911 fees, and impact fees. The interfund transfers make up 16% of the proposed revenues and include indirect costs, employee benefits, transfer to the capital project fund, risk fund, and fleet fund. Business taxes are 11% of the total revenues and include electric franchise, alcohol excise, insurance premium, occupation tax, and the hotel-motel taxes. Use of reserves and other revenues make up 9% of the total, and other revenues include licenses and permits, lease proceeds, fines, intergovernmental revenues, and the employee contribution for health. On this slide, if we look at the 10-year history of revenues across all funds, you will see that there have been periods of growth and periods where the revenues have declined. But overall, the revenues have grown by 47.2% over the 10-year time frame, and we expect an upward trend in the revenues for fiscal year 2020. The chart on this slide provides information on property tax revenues and millage rate of the city of Roswell for the last 10 years. The blue columns show the total millage rate, which is currently at 4.955 mils. And the line above the columns represents the total property tax revenue, and it includes the debt service amount. The 27.8 million revenue proposed for FY 2020 is based on the assumption that the millage rate will stay at the current level of 4.955 mils. It is also based on estimated property values and the impact of the new floating homestead exemption. This slide shows how the property tax digest value for the city of Roswell has changed over the last 10 years as compared to the millage rate. The green and red arrows depict the total digest value, and the blue dotted line represents the millage rate. You will see that even though our digest value reduced some years and went in the red, the millage rate remained constant. The millage rate was reduced last year to 4.955 mils after the digest value went up. And for FY 2020, the digest is not expected to grow much, and the proposed millage rate has been kept at the current level of 4.955 mils. This slide here provides a 10-year history of the sales tax revenues for the city of Roswell. The sales tax revenues are based on a 1.5% growth over the estimate for fiscal year 2019. The FY19 proposed revenues are expected to be 40.1 million. Sorry, the FY 2020 proposed revenues are expected to be at 40.1 million, and this includes an estimated 16.6 million to be received in T-SPLOST revenues. The pie chart on this slide gives a summary of the FY 2020 use of funds for all funds. Transportation, administration, police, recreation and parks, and public works make up 78% of the total $152.4 million budget. Transportation's budget also includes $16.9 million budgeted for T-SPLOST projects. A little earlier in the presentation, I had talked about operational efficiencies that staff is trying to achieve through this budget. This slide talks about those operational efficiencies that staff is trying to achieve through some of the proposals that have been submitted in this budget. In order to provide high quality and responsive customer service to Roswell residents, business owners, and developers, community development staff is proposing to bring the building and code enforcement services in-house. This service is currently provided by an outside contractor. Bringing this service in-house will add 11 new positions, but it will also reduce our costs by more than $250,000 in the first year. And in the second year, that is in FY 2021, the savings will amount to a little over $450,000. In the solid waste fund, there is a proposal to reduce 2 positions for custodial services. These positions were held by long-term employees that are no longer employed by the city. The cleaning services have been added to the citywide contract, and the cost is significantly lower than the cost of hiring 2 new custodians, and the savings from this change will amount to more than $80,000. This chart gives a 10-year history of full-time positions authorized by mayor and council. There is a proposed increase of 14 full-time positions for fiscal year 2020. I talked about 11 of these positions in the previous slide. The other positions being added will be discussed further into the presentation. On the next few slides, I will talk about the operating budget for the general fund, which includes both ongoing operating expenses and maintenance capital, how the base budget is developed, a summary of the revenues and expenditures, and then the proposals themselves. Each fiscal year, during the budget process, budget staff works diligently to develop a base budget for the next fiscal year. There are several steps that go into the development of the base budget. The development of the base budget begins with the current year's approved budget. From that approved budget, we remove any one-time expenses from the prior year, like one-time capital, operating expenses that are one-time in nature, and all partner organization expenses. We add back any initiatives that were approved at mid-year that have an ongoing operating impact. We also make adjustments to the salaries and benefits based on the current roster and make adjustments to the internal service funds like workers' comp and the risk funds. Each budget cycle, we also zero-base a couple of expense line items. For FY 2020, we zero-base 3 expense lines. And what this means is that departments have to analyze the costs for these expense line items, re-examine potentially unnecessary expenditures, and remove any redundant spending. The departments also review their base budgets and make adjustments to expense lines within that base budget, and they are not allowed to go over that base. And if they do, then they have to submit that as a new initiative for approval from mayor and council. Budget staff also reviews expenses in detail for each department every year. And as a result of this review that was done for this particular fiscal year, more than $200,000 worth of FY 2020 budget requests have been funded through the current base. And this process is done each year, and staff puts in a lot of work into the development of the base budget. Continuing the discussion on the base budget for fiscal year 2020 is proposed at a little over $70 million. And this is $4.2 million higher than the approved base budget for FY 2019. And the main reasons for this increase are some operating adjustments that have been made. A major portion of the increase comes from personnel adjustments, which is a net increase of $2.5 million. And this includes a pay raise that was given to the police officers that was approved by mayor and council in 2018. And it also includes the wage increase approved as part of the FY19 approved budget for all full-time staff. And then there are the recurring program changes that were approved as part of the FY19 budget, and that amounts to about $1 million. And then we also have the debt service, which includes the lease for the new heavy rescue truck and the new IT equipment. That is at $354,474. And then we also have an increase of $320,000 for workers' comp and risk liability insurance based on the expenses that have gone up in these two funds. And then we also have about a little over $95,000 for contractually based increases for the Safe Build contract, for the court services, and some of the parking leases that we have. The next few slides, we will talk about the general fund. The pie chart here gives a breakdown of the general fund revenues by some major categories. Sales tax and property tax make up 65% of the general fund revenues. Business taxes are estimated at $16 million, and other revenues are estimated to be $9 million. On this slide, we have a breakdown of the proposed general fund operating expenditures by department. Police, recreation and parks, fire, admin, and transportation make up 87% of the total $72.8 million budget for FY 2020. On the next few slides, we will talk about the general fund requests that have been funded in this proposed budget. They have been categorized by the 8 critical success factors that were identified by mayor and council in April 2018 as an interim step towards the development of a citywide strategic plan. And I will start with the operating and maintenance capital requests that are currently funded in the proposed budget. The funded initiatives that tie to the critical success factor of being a collaborative, innovative, and nimble city government are: the first one is to add funding for the part-time website administrator position, which is at $21,530. There is also a request from the administration department for an additional part-time staff for IT support staff at 75% funding, which amounts to $60,553. And then we have community development requesting the transitioning of the building and code enforcement services from contracted to city positions. That would result in a savings of over $278,000. And then we have the fire department requesting a personal protective equipment replacement at $118,821. So we will see a total savings of $77,752 in this particular category. And then Recreation and Parks Department has a request of $100,000 for system-wide park improvements that will help provide exceptional livability. We also have $88,750 budgeted for maintenance of city municipal grounds and the law enforcement center that will help achieve mayor and council's goal of providing a charming and thriving downtown to our community. We have several requests in the proposed budget that meet the success factor of having a proactive infrastructure and asset inventory. These requests help maintain or improve our city assets, and the total funded operating amount in this category is a little over $4 million. The first request we have in this category is from the Administration Department to add funding for IT managed services and unfund a full-time position in IT. That would result in a savings of $73,228. There is also a request of $25,000 for the IT equipment replacement program. And then we have a request from the Administration Department for the maintenance of the citywide facilities, which is a total of 33 buildings. That is a little over $1.9 million. And then Fire Department is requesting $3,000 for furniture at Rapstick. And they are also requesting $91,279 for the replacement of the extrication equipment. And then Police Department is requesting $10,000 for their tactical vest and helmet replacement program. $19,500 is being requested by Recreation and Parks to add funding for facility management contract services. They are also requesting $385,000 for their maintenance program, $60,000 for the skid steer replacement, and then $50,000 for the replacement of light poles at the Roswell North baseball field. And those will be 6 poles, wooden poles, that will be replaced with that $50,000. And they are also requesting $126,800 for the maintenance of the historic house museums. And then Recreation and Parks is also requesting $100,000 for the replacement of playgrounds, $35,000 for the replacement of small equipment, and then $50,000 for trail repair, Roswell Riverwalk and the East Roswell Park. And then Transportation Department is requesting $100,000 for bridge maintenance and a little over $1.2 million for the citywide road resurfacing and reconstruction project. Among the $1.89 million funded initiatives that achieve effective governance, we have the request to add a full-time paralegal for courts at 75% funding, a request of $100,000 by Administration Department to increase funding for legal services. There is also a request of $5,000 to add advertising for census campaign. And then there is the 3% merit-based wage increase that amounts to approximately $1.13 million. And then Community Development has a request for a full-time arborist position at 75% funding that amounts to $61,362. And then Fire Department has a request to add funding for staffing their heavy rescue truck, which will be coming in soon. And that is an amount of $466,465. Police Department is requesting adding a part-time position at 100% funding. That's $26,164. They are also requesting an increased funding for ammunition for $25,000 and $15,000 for uniforms. On this slide and the next one, we will talk about the proposed funded one-time initiatives, starting with the goal of being proactive with our infrastructure and asset inventory. We have a total one-time capital request in this category of $2,873,903. The first request that we have in this category is to add funding for network access control, $69,000. Administration Department is also requesting $25,000 for the furniture and renovation of the IT office suite. And then there is $200,000 being requested for the Americans with Disabilities Act implementation plan. And then Community Development Department is requesting $100,000 for the water resource map update. Fire Department is requesting a little close to $100,000 for the remodel of Fire Station 5. And they are also requesting a little over $200,000 for the video and card access system for their fire stations. Recreation and Parks is requesting $65,000 for seat replacement at the Cultural Arts Center. They are also requesting $155,000 for the historic house maintenance, that's the Mimosa Hall. And then Transportation Department is requesting $250,000 for the design and construction of the House Road multi-use path. They are requesting $1.5 million for the Villiers Road Bridge replacement, the construction of which is expected to be in FY 2020. And then they are also requesting $200,000 for the Woodstock Road at Highway 92, the turn lane that they're proposing, and that is for the design and engineering portion. And then we have in the exceptional livability category, Recreation and Parks Department is requesting $50,000 for the Groveway Community Master Plan implementation. They are also requesting $20,000 for the installation of cameras in the pedestrian and parking areas of the East Roswell Park, and $40,000 for installation of cameras at the Physical Activity Center for the safety and security of the participants there. And Transportation Department's request for sidewalk connectivity is partially funded at $806,222. For fiscal year 2020, one-time proposals meeting the criteria of being a collaborative, innovative, and nimble city government total $294,899. In this category, we have a request of $200,000 from the Community Development Department for Historic District Property Inventory Mapping. The Fire Department is requesting $40,899 for fire gear lockers for fire stations 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7. $36,000 for the replacement of 4 thermal imaging cameras, and $18,000 for 2 turnout gear extractor washing machines at the fire stations. One-time capital requests helping with effective governance are proposed at $445,000. This includes funding for a classification and compensation study at $95,000 and a full update to the comprehensive plan at a cost of $350,000. We also have a request of $100,000 from the Community Development Department for an urban redevelopment plan that meets the priority goal of having a diverse economic environment. And to help achieve the critical success factor of having accessible and unique parks and natural resources for our community, Recreation and Parks Department is requesting $282,000 for the Roswell River Park Master Plan design. In this next section, we are going to cover the unfunded requests in the general fund, starting with the operating requests in the collaborative, innovative, and nimble city government category. We have 2 requests totaling $199,444 that are unfunded. The request from Administration Department for 1 full-time and 1 part-time citizen engagement position, and the request from ComDev for a software for the enhancement of the permit and plan review process. In the exceptional livability category, we have the request to increase funding for the Bike Roswell Festival for fall at $12,000 that is unfunded. And we also have a request for a full-time administrative specialist position for special events that is unfunded at $61,277. Recreation and Parks Department's request to increase funding for holiday lighting and tree replacement for the historic Roswell Town Square at a cost of $20,000 is also unfunded. In the effective governance category, we have 2 operating requests that are unfunded for a total amount of $60,454. One is a request to increase funding for professional services to legal for review of real estate by $15,000. And the second is a request by the police department to add 2 part-time administrative specialist positions. Among the unfunded requests that tie to the critical success factor of proactive infrastructure and asset inventory, we have playground replacements at $100,000, small equipment replacement at $15,000, and the citywide road resurfacing and reconstruction, which is partially unfunded at $593,778. In the one-time capital request, we also have a request for LED lighting conversion for city buildings, unfunded at $750,000. Fire department's fire safety education safety town village request at $23,501. The fire safety education fire extinguisher simulator, $21,360. And transportation's request for a pole truck and trailer at the cost of $100,000 is also unfunded. And then Recreation and Parks Department for the Roswell River Park Master Plan design, they had requested a total of $282,000 for that. It is only partially funded, so this is the unfunded portion of that, which is at $68,000. And then we have Administration Department's request for funding for security lighting for City Hall events for $120,000, which is unfunded. And then we also have Transportation Department's request of $200,000 for the Pine Grove Magnolia Corridor, the complete street, which was supposed to be a concept study. The $200,000, that is unfunded as well. Moving on with the unfunded requests, there is a request by Recreation and Parks Department of $80,000 for the East Roswell Park Fouts Road Phase 3 Improvement Plan, which is unfunded. And then there is $400,000 requested by Transportation Department for the Riverside Road Complete Street project, which is unfunded. And also unfunded is the sidewalk connectivity, a portion of that is $193,778. And $300,000 of the Hardscrabble Green Loop Phase 2 project is also unfunded. And then we have the City Hall elevator renovation, $105,000 request by Administration Department, which is unfunded. And there is a request of $1 million from the Fire Department for the replacement of Station 2, that is unfunded as well. And then $400,000 requested by Transportation Department for Sun Valley Phase 3, the design and engineering portion, that is unfunded. Sun Valley Drive Phase 2, $3.2 million is also unfunded. And then $500,000 requested for the Kent Road paving project is also unfunded. In this section of the presentation, I will provide some highlights on the enterprise funds and a few other funds. Starting with the solid waste fund, here the proposed revenues for FY 2020 are a little over $11 million. Of this total, the residential refuse collection makes up 64% of the revenues, and the commercial refuse collection is 33% of the total revenue. The proposed expenditures for this fund are $11.3 million, which is higher than the revenues that are estimated. Hence, $308,269 of the fund balance will have to be used to cover those additional expenditures. And that will leave us with a projected fund balance over policy of a little over $450,000 at the end of fiscal year 2020. The funded budget requests for the solid waste fund include a reduction of force in custodial services that I had talked about on a previous slide. That will result in savings of approximately $83,553. There is also a request to add funding of $7,500 for the yearly maintenance fee for the HyperWeb software that is used by the division. And then there is the merit-based salary increase for this fund, which will amount to $78,803. Among the capital requests in this fund, we have a request to replace a commercial front-loader garbage truck at a cost of $270,000, one residential rear-loader garbage truck at $215,000, and a request for a densifier equipment at the recycling center, the cost of which is estimated at $30,000. For the Water and Sewer Fund, the proposed revenues for FY 2020 are at $4.3 million. Water charges contribute 79% of the revenues, sewer charges 8%, and other revenues contribute 13% of the total revenue. The proposed revenues for this fund are based on a proposed rate increase of 2.5% for FY 2020. The proposed expenditures for this fund are $3.9 million, and the projected fund balance over policy is estimated to be a little over $1.38 million at the end of fiscal year 2020. There is only one operating request in this fund, and it is the merit-based salary increase that will amount to $32,364. We also have some maintenance capital requests that amount to $562,000 and achieve Mayor and Council's priority of having a proactive infrastructure and asset inventory. The first request is the replacement of a Ford F-550 truck at $55,000. The second is the replacement of the SCADA communication system at $27,000. And the third is the replacement of an excavator at a cost of $80,000. And then we have the water line replacement budgeted at $400,000 for fiscal year 2020. For the Stormwater Fund, the proposed revenues for fiscal year 2020 are budgeted at $3.3 million. Almost all of this revenue comes from the stormwater utility fees. The proposed revenues for this fund are based on a proposed rate increase of 2.5%. The proposed expenditures for this fund are $3.4 million, which is higher than the revenues that we have estimated. Hence, $120,195 of the fund balance will have to be used to cover those additional expenditures. That will leave us with a projected fund balance over policy of a little over $400,000 at the end of FY 2020. We have three requests in this fund. One is the merit-based salary increase at $26,589. And the second is the replacement of the excavator for a cost of $170,000. These two requests will meet the goal of effective governance. We also have a request of $830,000 for the Stormwater Master Project list that meets the critical success factor of proactive infrastructure and asset inventory. Moving on to the Rec Participation Fund. In this fund, the proposed revenues for FY 2020 are estimated at $5.5 million. Majority of this revenue comes from the charges for the programs and services that are provided by the Recreation and Parks Department. The proposed expenditures for this fund are $5.8 million, which is higher than the proposed revenues. So to cover those additional expenditures, we will have to use $288,879 of the fund balance. That will then leave us with a projected fund balance over policy of a little over $700,000 at the end of FY 2020. Among the funded requests in this particular fund, we have the employee salary increase, that is at $34,426. And then we also have a request of $48,000 for the Cultural Arts Center new program initiative called the Sunday Pop Series, and that's $48,000. In the E911 fund, the proposed revenues for FY 2020 are budgeted at $2.2 million, and the proposed expenditures are budgeted at $2.8 million, which is $540,830 in excess of the proposed revenues, and we propose to use the fund balance for those additional expenditures. That will leave us with a projected fund balance of a little over $9,000 at the end of fiscal year 2020 in the E911 fund. Among the funded requests in this fund, we have the employee salary increase at $42,536. And then there is also a request for 2 new communications officers, which is at 75% funding, that's $103,600. And then there is one unfunded request in the amount of $137,969, and that is the other 2 communications officers that the department requested. We now move to the Hotel Motel Fund. The proposed revenues for this fund are $1.5 million for FY 2020 and are based on an 8% tax rate. This tax rate was approved by the state legislature and is awaiting the governor's signature. The proposed expenditures are budgeted at $1.46 million for this particular fund, and we expect the FY 2020 ending fund balance to be $81,218. The Hotel Motel Fund revenues are split into 3 different categories based on what the funds can be used for. The FY 2020 proposed revenues for this fund are a total of $1.5 million. Of this, 43.75% is allocated to tourism, conventions, and trade shows, which is called TCT, and that amount is $656,250. And all of this funding will go to the Roswell CVB for their operations. And then we have 18.75% that has to be allocated towards tourism product development. The proposed revenue in this category is $281,250, and of this, $250,000 is proposed to be transferred to the Capital Projects Fund for the River Park Master Plan. The balance, 37.5%, is unrestricted, and the proposed revenue in this unrestricted category is $562,500. And of this total, $143,750 is proposed for funding CVB operations, and $400,000 is to be transferred to the general fund. The FY 2020 budget also includes requests from our partner organizations, and this slide provides information on their unfunded and unfunded requests. Starting with the funded requests, Roswell Arts Fund is funded at a total of $225,000. Roswell Inc. is funded at $560,000. The Convention and Visitors Bureau is funded at $800,000. Roswell Historical Society is funded at $110,000, and the Historic Roswell Beautification Project is funded at $27,620. And among the unfunded, Roswell Arts Fund, their unfunded portion is $65,000. CVB's unfunded portion is $200,000, and HRBP's unfunded portion is $24,810. As part of the next steps of our budget process, we have a work session. The department heads will be presenting their proposed budgets to Mayor and Council on May 1 at 12 p.m. And we also have the first reading of our budget on May 13th at 7 p.m. And then the second budget reading will be held on May 28th at 7 p.m. That is the end of my presentation, ma'am.
Thank you very much. You always do such a great job, and I'd like to thank staff in general because you have just been a delight to work with, and you always have good, solid recommendations. Does council have any questions? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward? Yes, please come forward.
Russell, a longtime resident of Roswell, thank you again, as always, for the best presentation. She makes it so simple for those of us that are not accountants. I just have a couple of observations in the budget. There's money unfunded for lights on the town square again. 5 years ago, none of you were present on the town council. The city approved money to put lights on the town square. 5 years or more have gone by, and we still have no lights on the historic square. They did, however, approve $33,000 for 20 lights on the multimodal path that leads to Willio Road, and those were installed within 4 weeks after the $33,000 was approved. We are still waiting for the town square to become alive with lights. Someone put lights in the trees, but the last time I checked, humans do not sit in trees. Humans sit on benches. And if you want the town square to become a vital, livable place, you need to find that money. We've been patient. It's been more than 5 years, number one. Number two, I had a question about the Solid Waste Management Fund. We sold the Southern Skillet property for, I guess, close to $5 million. We purchased that property with the money from the Solid Waste Management Fund. We drained it. I want to know if, once that sale is complete, if that money will be returned to the Solid Waste Management Fund, or will it go to a general fund, or will the increase in our garbage collection, which had not increased for 15 years, but we still managed to save $5 million, will that money, the increases we're going to pay, just become more of a slush fund for another project in Roswell? So where is the money going that we sell the Southern Skillet property from, since it did come directly from the Solid Waste Management Fund? Also, code enforcement getting privatized is not a surprise to me. I remember when it was part of the city, and I remember why it became privatized. I will not make that public at this time, but if any of you would like to discuss it with me later, I will be glad to tell you what happened behind the scenes. Remember, I know where the bodies are buried. Finally, the water rate increase that we're going to experience of 2.5%, most people won't care because they get their water from Fulton County. The city of Roswell people that live in this center corridor are the only ones who will be affected. And right, 2.5% might not seem like much. It affects our restaurants, our breweries, our churches, the historic ones, the schools that are here, the nursing homes. And we weren't given a choice if we wanted to continue to get our water from Roswell. Fulton County has continued to lower their rates. I am not complaining about the service or the quality of the water, but for years, I and another person here in this council chamber said we do not need to be in the water business anymore. And the cost of the plant went from $8 million to $16 million in 5 years. And the only people that have to pay for it are the people that get their water from Roswell. So the rest of you who live outside of maybe a half a mile or a mile from Highway 9 really have no skin in that game anymore. So I just want you to know that those of us that do get our water from Roswell, while not complaining about the service or the quality, are not happy that we get to pay the price. I think that's all I have to say, except lots of money out here, but all we hear is no money, no money, no money, no money, no money, and no more money. We do have money. You just have to, there's an old Irish saying, everybody folds their money differently. And I suggest that the city try to fold it a little differently.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Claire Snedeker, 765 Whitehall Way. We have higher priorities in Roswell transportation than Sun Valley 3, so the unfunded status of that road is helping to pay for those priorities. Total of that project would be over $5 million, so I ask for you all to consider the other priorities and continue the unfunded status of Sun Valley 3. And I certainly would prioritize higher the maintenance of our existing roads and ask that you work to fund the shortfall of $600,000 approximately that's in this budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Seeing no hands up and no one coming forward, is there anyone on council that would like to make a comment or ask a question? Seeing no hands up, thank you very much for the fabulous presentation, and we will be discussing this at great length going forward. The next item on the agenda is Administration and Finance Department. Councilmember Zapata.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 5 of the agenda today, approval of a resolution for the mayor and our city administrator to sign a supplemental lease with the Georgia Municipal Association, GMA, for a new fire truck with an annual payment of $140,719.21. will be presented by Mr. Ryan Lockett, Finance Director.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item before you is approval for a new Georgia Municipal Association lease for the purchase of a heavy rescue fire truck. This truck was approved as part of the FY 2018 budget. These vehicles take about a year to produce and manufacture, so that truck is about to come in over the next month, and this is an arrangement to solidify the financing for that purchase. This includes a interest rate of 3.41%. It would be for a period of 10 years and includes an annual payment of about $140,719. I'm available for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Luckett. Does council have any questions?
Just one quick question, if I could.
Councilmember Tizer.
Thank you. Mr. Luckett, what's the expected life of that fire truck?
10 years.
Thank you.
Additional questions, comments? Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak? Please come forward. Seeing no one approach, do I have a motion?
Yes, motion to approve item number 5 of today's agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Zapata. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Councilmember Wilsey. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is Environmental and Public Works Department. Councilmember Judy.
Thank you, Mayor. Number 6 on the agenda, approval for the mayor and/or city administrator to sign a change order to the contract with Site Engineering for the Norcross Culvert Replacement Project in the amount not to exceed $118,119.95 for additional work items. Ms. Izzo, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As an update on the Norcross Culvert project, that project is complete. Thursday morning, we did a walkthrough of it and took substantial completion of it. The contractor did an excellent job, and it looks beautiful. I hope you have a chance to go out and take a look at it. Also want to mention that our staff did a really great job working with the affected businesses on Norcross and making sure that they were as inconvenienced as possible during our construction project. In the course of our work, we did encounter some unforeseen work that totaled $118,119. The details of that are our traffic control costs were higher than expected. The traffic control plan that the contractor proposed was concerning to our transportation department. They worked with the contractor and determined that they wanted to have two detour routes, one for our trucks and one for our commuters. They also wanted to do some variable message boards to inform the traveling public of the detour. There were 6 of them in total. One of them was provided by Environmental Public Works, and the total on that was just under $24,000. Also, as we were working, we also discovered some really poor soils. We discovered a lot of garbage, some decaying organics, and basically the soils that were there were simply not appropriate for us to use as backfill. So we had to remove those materials and bring in select materials, and that amounted to just over $84,000. And lastly, we had some utility conflicts, which are fairly typical when we do these sorts of projects. They were about $10,000. One was a sanitary sewer that we needed to change the material that was there. And we also encountered a fiber optic line that required us to alter our drop inlet and go a little bit lower so we could scoot under that AT&T fiber line. So in total, that was that 118. We had planned for about $25,000 in unforeseen work. So the delta on that is $93,119.95. Those funds are available in our Stormwater Master Plan project list. And that concludes my presentation.
Does council have any questions? Yes, Councilmember Grower.
I just wanted to thank you all for the work you did on that project. I've had several calls from residents that were very pleased at how quickly that was done and how quickly it was all back to working order. So thank you all very much for that great plan and execution.
Thank you.
Additional comments from council? Questions? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Seeing no one approach, do I have a motion?
Yes, motion to approve item number 6.
Second.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Judy, second by Councilmember Zapata. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. The next and the last item on the agenda this evening is the city attorney's report.
Thank you, Mayor. The only item I have is a recommendation for closure to discuss personnel litigation and real estate.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to move to closure?
Motion by Councilmember Grower. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, second by Councilmember Judy and Wilsey. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. We are adjourned.